What is happening right now? Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. It says we're live.
The countdown like froze and started stuttering.
That's
Like,
StreamYard for you.
all right, I think we're good. Yeah, what's up, everybody? This is Run It Back Philly and Sixers Talk with Romp. You know who Romp is. You know who I am. Yeah, follow both of us on social media. Hit the like button on the stream. Subscribe to both channels. And for those that have been asking that don't know what's going on, really, most of my streams, 99% of my streams are on Playback TV currently. And that is because they just pay me more money than YouTube, bro. That's exactly why. And if you can't make the live streams on Playback TV, all the full live streams are on patreon.com/runitbackphilly for $5 a month. Because you know what? No more free work.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. By the way, I like that shirt. I'll take a sweatshirt.
Hey, thank you, man. Thank you.
It looks nice.
I changed, I'm working on a new merch store and stuff too with a different company and stuff. I haven't got that up yet. But anyway, we're here. Yeah, I'll send you one on whatever. Let me know. Remind me. I'll send you one.
Word.
Yeah, anyway, so it's been a month. When's the last time we did a thing together, huh?
Oh man, it was like November. And then I got hacked.
Oh yeah, Romp got hacked.
And also, I don't know, like I have like the same opinions as so it was like, I don't know, do I really want to go on stream because we're just gonna, talk about the same thing? Because it's like this team is the same from last year. It feels like the same complaints. So it's better that we, meet up later in the season. Now we have a bunch of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. The first like couple months of the season, there wasn't much because the same. Nothing really changed in the off season. We added the Anthony Melton. But we talked about all of that, and then the season started, and we really have the same issues right now that we had. Aside from now a couple things happened after trade deadline. But yeah, the first couple months of the season, it was kind of the same thing. It was like, if we get this version of James Harden, if we get this version of Tyrese Maxey, we hate Doc Rivers, but he's not going to get fired. Yeah, I feel you. We were beating a dead horse for a little while, man. Yeah. So we're here. Are you feeling more optimistic about the Sixers right now than you were in the off season? At all? 1% more.
I guess if Joel Embiid stays healthy, James Harden's looking way better than I expected in terms of consistency, and it seems like he's actually beating switches more often, which is good. But deep into the playoffs, I could see that kind of going a little downhill and becoming more inconsistent. I wouldn't say I'm optimistic. I think I'm just like beaten down to where I just really don't care what happens. Like I would love a championship. Don't get me wrong. But like we're going to talk about the tough schedule, but like I should be really wanting the 1 seed. Like if I wasn't a fan, if I wasn't, from our past failures, I would really want the 1 seed. But since like I've seen that doesn't really matter, I'm kind of just I'm over it, and I just want to see production in the playoffs and things like that. But I want the 1 seed from a perspective of not a Sixers fan, because you would avoid the Bucks and the Celtics. But either way, I could care less, because I feel like even if we get the 1 seed, something's going to go wrong.
Yeah, if you get the 1 seed, you avoid the Bucks and the Celtics until the Eastern Conference Finals. If you get there, I think like unless something goes horribly wrong with the Boston Celtics, I would put money on them being there. And if the Sixers are as good as I think they can be, if we, there's two different versions of them, and I think we watch the Sixers obviously more than any other team. And I have a friend who's a hardcore Celtics fan. Pays for League Pass just to be able to watch Celtics games. So, he watches every single game, and he feels the same way a lot about the Celtics, that they have games where they play down to competition and all this stuff. And I just think like sometimes we think it's just our team doing that. You know what I mean? But like everybody kind of does that. And the NBA is at a point right now where, man, it's almost hard to cover an NBA team during the regular season because it is a drag, dude. Like you just get it's on a Monday night against the Houston Rockets. If nobody cares and you lose, it's frustrating. But it just kind of doesn't really matter.
Yeah, really. Every team plays down to competition. And the thing is, when the Sixers do, play up like we saw against the Cavaliers, I mean, that's the number one defense in the league. And James Harden and Joel Embiid made them look silly. And I think it just comes back to, can Joel Embiid stay healthy for the postseason? I think that's like the main thing. Because last year, I think we would look at it in a whole different way. If he was healthy, it probably goes to 7 games. The Sixers probably win it. And if they don't win it, it's definitely very competitive. And you got to keep in mind the Heat team that beat us with Joel missing the first 2 games. I mean, they took Boston to 7 games.
That's
and
true.
I mean, that's the thing. Joel Embiid, if he's healthy, but that's the big if, like he's probably going to get hurt. It's kind of like Chris Paul. Chris Paul always be getting hurt. So
Just say he's probably gonna get hurt.
he's probably going to get hurt.
If
But
you're going with probability and you base it on his career, and you're just a betting man and you're just playing the odds, you have to bet on it because it's just what happens all the time every year, which sucks. I think this is the year, though. I think this is the year. Last year, he was in the. I mean, I feel like we say every year he's in the best shape of his career, but last year he had an amazing season, man. Like crushed records in certain ways, like 10, 40 and 10 games in a row or whatever all the records were that he did last year. And he still got hurt in the playoffs, man. It was like that was the one that was like the most demoralizing because it wasn't a regular season injury. It wasn't anything. He had an amazing, healthy season, and he got elbowed in the face in the playoffs. That's insane when you really think about just the level of bad luck, man, that is. And yeah. So, but this year, if we could just steer clear of Pascal Siakam and stepping on somebody's foot and spraining an ankle, or I don't even know how he tore the ligament in his thumb in the playoffs last season. That was like another random one. Maybe he was dealing with it all season. Good.
You know what I'll say about this Siakam thing? Like everyone blames him and Doc Rivers, and rightfully so. But also, like, you got to blame the team because they love to play down to competition and just not show up. That series should have been over in 5. We won in 6. Do we win in 6 or 5?
Raptors, I think it was 6. 6.
Yeah, it was 6. But we should have won that in 5. And if you win that in 5, I remember it was like an afternoon game, and we played terrible. Like, they didn't show up, and they forced the game 6. Like, if they win that game 5, Joel doesn't get hurt. And that's the overlying problem with this team. Sometimes they just don't show up. Sometimes they just lollygag around. Like, where is they don't seem to have that killer instinct. I hate to be that type of guy, but it's kind of true.
Yeah, you're right. You definitely get these games that they look like they don't care to win, or they don't care for like 85% of the game, and then they try to win it at the end, and sometimes it's just not enough because you're still playing NBA teams. Did you see the let's just jump into this real quick. I didn't even put this in our notes or anything, but did you see what Daryl Morey said on the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast? Kind of about Doc Rivers. For anyone that hasn't seen it, I'll just put it on the screen here, and we'll just play it real quick. It's on RB's Twitter page. Here's what Daryl Morey. Let me see. I hope we don't have an echo here. We might have an echo on my vocals while I'm playing this, but here's what Daryl Morey said, and you just give us all your thoughts in the comments if you haven't seen this.
I've mentioned this before. I did underestimate the time it was going to take for Joel and James to develop a chemistry. I think.
Oh, come on, Twitter. Elon, what are you doing?
I think it's me. My internet is just jacked up right now.
And again, this is another place I'd like to see that consistency, because when we have it humming, it's really humming. And I think you guys who watch every minute like I do have seen it. And then there'll be times you're just like, wait, why aren't we doing the thing that's working really well?
That's something you want to hear about your favorite team.
What's happening? And then there'll be times you're just like, wait, why aren't we doing the thing that's working really well? Like what's happening? And
bro, that is insane. Like, that's actually insane that he just said that, because Daryl Morey knows. What do you think about that first? Tell me what you think about what he just said on there.
I mean, I think you got to blame Doc. I think you got to blame Joel and James Harden. I think Joel and Doc are just so in love with playing the 4-out 1-in offense, and Harden's kind of just accepted his role. So the 4-out 1-in offense is great, but at times it's not great, especially when Embiid's not playmaking like he can, making slow decisions and stuff like that. So I think the blame should probably go on the coach a lot, but also the 2-star players, they got to focus up more.
Yeah, but Daryl Morey saying that just out loud, it kind of reminds me of when Doc Rivers says things like, "Well, in the third quarter, we just, we didn't execute, or we didn't run the game plan, or there wasn't a lot of action going on, or whatever." He says things as if he doesn't realize that he's in charge of the players that are on the floor. You know what I mean? Like he says it like he's a fan in the stands, just analyzing the game. Daryl Morey just said that like he doesn't know that there's a coach that's in charge of what's happening. So he just said, "Why aren't we doing what works? What is happening?" To me, that's him literally sitting there questioning his own coach.
Yeah. It's kind of throwing Doc under the bus, which is pretty interesting. But that brings me to the pick and roll with Joel Embiid and James Harden, which is pretty much our bread and butter and pretty much like our identity in terms of what is going to work in the playoffs. And the thing about it is you can shut it down by just switching everything. And the Sixers seem to not have a plan. Well, their plan is to attack the mismatch, give it to Joel, and have him work at the perimeter. And we all see how that works in the postseason. So, like, that's another reason why I really don't believe in this team, because the Celtics, they can switch everything. The Heat can switch everything and stuff like that. Like, you can take that pick and roll play away from James Harden and Joel Embiid if you get physical with them, if you play up on them, and if you have the right players to switch.
Yeah, and teams that switch to a zone for like the 97th year in a row, the Sixers, at times look like they have no idea what to do when a team goes zone. They also, and this all does like have to do with the coach. It has to do with practice. It has to do with repetition. It has to do with coaching. They'll run a pick and roll again in certain times against certain teams and just spam it, and they can't stop it, and they just dominate. The Denver Nuggets in the fourth quarter, they just spammed it. They couldn't stop Joel Embiid. He just kept getting an ISO one-on-one against Jokic, who we all know cannot guard Joel Embiid at all. And they just spammed it, and the other team couldn't stop it. I say all the time, spam it until they stop it. It's like 2K. You're just hitting the L1 button, doing a pick and roll, and the other player can't stop Joel Embiid on 2K like they can't stop him in real life. You just spam it until they try to adjust and do something else. Then they have other games where it's working in the first half, and this is what Daryl's saying. And then all of a sudden in the third or the fourth, they're not running it at all. It's just Joel out there getting the ball on the perimeter, trying to create like he's Kevin Durant, and everybody's standing around watching him. And that's where the coaching does come in, because there's no adjustment from the guy on the sideline. He's watching it happen, and he just kind of lets them do it for a whole third quarter until they blow a 28-point lead in 7 minutes. And it's wild that I feel like Daryl Morey just reiterated my frustrations with Doc Rivers. So the GM of the damn team doesn't understand why we go away from what works in crunch time. The same thing I've been saying for almost 3 years now with Doc. So, it's wild that Daryl said that. Like, why do you think they do go away from it in those situations? Is it like, I don't think Doc's telling him what to do during a game. I think there's a game plan, and he just sits there and watches. And then he goes to I'm serious, because then he goes to a press conference and he just comments on the game as if he was just sitting there watching it. So is it James Harden and Joel Embiid not realizing that, like, we can dominate this team by just pick and rolling all night?
I think it's like a combination of a few things. I think when they get a lead, like the Cavs game, they kind of just, are like, okay, we're just going to go ISO mode because we're feeling ourselves. I think Doc, his teams, he tends to give the players a lot of freedom, which could be a great thing and also be a bad thing. But the thing I'm looking for is, what is the counter to this switching defense? Like, how are they going to overcome this. And number one, you got to get stops. You got to get stops, and you got to get up in transition, because in transition, the defense isn't set. So it's easier to just get right into the pick and roll, and they can't switch, or they can switch, but it's easier to beat people like in that situation. So you got to get stops and you got to push the pace, and Harden and Embiid got to be, locked into each other and things like that. Also, Harden's got to beat mismatches. You keep switching, take the big guy off the dribble or take the bigger forward off the dribble. But last year he couldn't do that. Against the Cavs, he was doing that in the first half, but then all of a sudden he was like, I don't want to shoot the ball. And that's another problem with my Joel Embiid and James Harden pick and roll. If 95% of the time Harden's just looking to pass in the pick and roll, in the playoffs, it's not going to be as successful, because coaches know Harden just wants to pass. And in the Cavs game, you saw in the first half, he was getting wherever he wanted. He was attacking switches in transition and things like that. But there's too many times where Harden just, turns into pass. And I've gotten on him in the past, like over dribbling, but I also get on him now for like just looking to pass too much. I'm like, just shoot, shoot the ball. You're efficient from three. Take more step backs and things like that. Just playoff instincts don't revert to, oh, I'm the pass guy now. Oh, I'm the scorer guy. Like, it seems like he struggles with that a bit.
Yeah, I think in the Cavs game, he had 8 points and 6 assists in the first 7 minutes of the game. And he finished the game with like 19 and 12, which 19 and 12, that's a Halliburton stat line. That's not a James Harden stat line for me. I need more than 19. When you're up 28 in the first half and the game comes down to the wire, it just feels like I didn't notice that he disappeared, but I guess because I was focusing on other things. But then by the end of the game, I'm like, wait a minute, I actually didn't really see James Harden doing anything in the second half. So yeah, he needs to be consistently find a balance. And I think it's still a learning curve for him after playing 10 years in Houston, where he's just bang, 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 aggressive. Everything's about him. He's trying to play number two to a guy, and I don't think he's done that before, really. He tried in Brooklyn. He was gonna try to do it, but they got 7 games, with Durant and Kyrie. So yeah, I think it's really still a learning curve for him to try to play second fiddle to Joel and know when to attack and when to be aggressive and when to be the facilitator. But I have faith I have faith in him in the playoffs. I think he might be low managing too, man. I really think that too with Joel, when you see him taking first halves off where he's just watching guys do layups and we're like, yo, I'm over here roasting, George Niang and Montrezl Harrell, and now you're out here. Now you're out here just standing by, letting people do layups. So what's really going on here? And then he'll turn it on in the fourth quarter and start blocking shots and start being aggressive. So I think at the end of the day, man, all of the issues that we see is just a lack of effort mostly. And I really think by the time when the playoffs start, you're going to get that 110% from everybody. And it's going to be a different game. Like the beginning of the season, I was saying, I'll take 45 games from Embiid if I get 100% and healthy in the playoffs. So I really think that's what's going on. You know what I mean? I think, and that's why they play up when they're on national TV against the Bucks or the Nuggets. They play up because they're like, all right, this is a playoff atmosphere. This one matters. And then they get the Orlando Magic on a Monday, and they're like, we're gonna jog around a little bit, and then by the fourth quarter, they're like, oh shit, they have 7, 6'11" athletes that are out rebounding us by 40, and now we're down in the fourth end. We got to try to claw back in, but. Yeah, I think they've competed against the best teams pretty well, except for the Boston Celtics. Let's get through some super chats here real quick, and I want to talk about the Boston Celtics and how we lost that last one. Mr. Rudy Poo, thank you, my man. As always, let's be real. JoJo was better last year. That's why we feel less optimistic. He was so good pre-face thumb injury. Yeah, he was great last year, but most of that year was him trying to. I think most of that year was him trying to drag the team without a point guard, right? Ben was sitting out. Maxey was in this starting point guard role. There wasn't a real facilitator on the floor until the James Harden trade, and Joel was playing superhero. I don't think he was better last year. I think he's the same player. I just think his role is a little bit different with James Harden being in shape and Maxey taking a second leap. And I think Joel's tried to play more of a faster pace game this year, more of a motion style floating around the free throw line, the elbow. I think he's playing a little bit of a different role this year. That's just me. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. The thing I'm worried about is Maxey's kind of just put in the background now, and going into the playoffs, I mean, all we got in our pocket is really the Joel Embiid and James Harden pick and roll, and that could get you far. But like another way to combat the switch is like, let's use Maxey more on ball with James Harden and Joel Embiid on the court. But when Maxey's on the court with Joel Embiid and James Harden, like he feeds off them, and that's wonderful. He gets his points off them. But also there's no element of, oh, let's give Maxey the rock and let's let Embiid and him run a pick and roll, and then Harden can shoot off ball or do whatever off ball. Or maybe you give it to Maxey in the beginning of the shot clock and then go to James Harden later in the shot clock, and maybe the pick and roll is a bit easier to get to against a switching defense or something like that. But I feel like there's no Maxey element. It's just Joel Embiid and James Harden, and Maxey's just kind of there feeding off them, and it could be great because he's great at that. But also it would be nice to have on-ball Maxey next to them. We see on-ball Maxey when they're not in the game, and at times it's great, like against the Clippers it worked. And then there's other times where it's not going to work because he's playing with Montrezl Harrell and George Niang and stuff like that.
Yeah. When Maxey gets it all depends on the lineup. And when he's in there with Embiid and Harden, he doesn't really have a role. He just has to stand there and try to feed off of what they're doing. Yeah, it'd be nice, like, to have some sets for him within that. Like you said, Embiid, Maxey pick and roll. And I don't know. I don't know the elements. I'm not at the practice. I don't know if they do practice, but I remember before the season there was that mic'd up thing with Doc Rivers, and he was telling Maxey to call plays for himself. He was like, you take the ball and you call a set for yourself, and you do, and I'm like, okay, but he's still a 22-year-old kid now playing with James Harden and Joel Embiid. So is he really going to be like, give me the ball, I'm running a play for myself? I think he takes a back seat naturally, and it'd probably be nice if the coaching staff was like, hey, run a play for Maxey now. You know what I mean? Run a couple of them. He's so quick off the dribble. He's so lethal going to the rim. If you give him an extra advantage by coming around a dribble handoff or a double screen or a pin down screen or whatever, that's just getting him to the rim even quicker and freer. I grew up watching Allen Iverson, man. The guy's going from the left side of the court to the right side of the court, back to the left side of the court, screens here, screens there. Every single thing Larry Brown did was running Allen Iverson around screens. He knew Allen Iverson could beat anybody off the dribble ISO. And even that was lethal. But if you're bringing this dude around screens, now these guys are trying to catch up to a guy they couldn't catch in the first place. That's what they need to do with Tyrese Maxey more. I agree with that, man. Take advantage of it, but also help him out by just running a couple plays for him. And then, it's an option B. I think that's the main thing. If I had to say what am I kind of worried most about with this team, it's where's the plan B when teams shut down the pick and roll or the pick and pop? Where's the plan B? Or, I think for some reason, the second offense that they run is just Joel Embiid ISOs from the perimeter. And I don't think that should be in there at all. Unless the shot clock's running down and there's no play, I don't think Joel Embiid should be trying to create from the perimeter really ever. I know he wants to. I know he can in situations, but there's got to be a plan B when teams shut down the pick and roll. And the pick and roll being shut down is really teams, switching everything. And then a lot of times they like not only switch everything, but they'll double Harden around the screen and kind of mess up the whole, like him trying to get the ball to Joel rolling or popping or whatever. And if they're really athletic teams like the Orlando Magic and the Toronto Raptors, Harden struggles with those teams because they switch everything and they flash around the screen. And then he just has to kind of get rid of the ball at half court. I would say plan B. What's outside of plan one? Adjust. But again, you heard it out of Blake Griffin's mouth. It's known that this guy doesn't adjust. So we're sitting here like, oh shit, we knew that. But now how many players that have played for him before said that he doesn't adjust, and we're watching him not adjust. So It is what it is. At the end of the day, the Sixers are going to go as far as Doc Rivers takes them in. That's going to be the Eastern Conference Finals. If they make the Eastern Conference Finals, do you think that's better or worse? Because I think that then gives them an excuse to keep Doc Rivers for another season. And then we're like, oh my God, I knew they could get there, but they didn't get past
I would go
that
crazy.
because of these issues. And now you get another year of Doc.
I just want to get past the second round. Like, that would be a championship for me. I would be so happy to be one of the last 4 teams. Like, I just can't take another second round exit unless it's like against the Celtics and we take them to 7 games. But if it's the Bucks, I need them to beat the Bucks in the second round. I don't care if it's the Bucks, but Celtics, I'll give them a little pass if they're competitive. But just give me a conference finals, please.
I think I can take a second round exit. I think I can take a second round exit better than I can take an Eastern Conference Finals loss. Because I it's hard to, like I said, the team kind of has the same issues they had last year. They've added players. I think they're better than they were last year. But there's still a big question mark with the coach and with the bench and the backup center and that stuff. And I just don't see enough of a difference really for me to be very optimistic about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you want to cover a team and constantly be in conversations with your friends or who root for other teams or whatever. Be like, oh yeah, well they're not beating the Sixers this, the Sixers that. Like, I want to be like that, but I just don't really feel like that about this team right now. So I think I could handle another second round exit, because a second round exit to me would mean that something major is definitely going to happen, versus getting to the Eastern Conference Finals and losing, and they would be like, well, we made the Eastern Conference Finals. That's, baby steps, a little bit of a better than the last time. So now that'll give Josh Harris a reason to keep Doc Rivers' contract going, because he doesn't want to buy him out.
See, the thing is, like, I've already accepted that this is probably going to fail. Like, I was making videos once we lost to the Spurs that we got to blow this. We got to blow this up. We got to trade Embiid, beginning of the season, like that. Like, I've accepted that. Yeah, this probably is going to go one way, where Embiid's probably going to request out. And, it's not the worst situation, because the thing we're going to get back for Embiid is just going to be insane. Like,
all right, let's go there.
You saw the Kevin Durant package.
Wait, before you get into that, let's go there so I can make this a clip and put it as a separate video, because that's
people are going to go crazy. They're
what are you
talking about trading Embiid?
But I'm just saying, it's, as a YouTuber, it's a serious clickbait topic. So let's make sure we get the clicks. All right. So we're going to start it like this. If the Sixers lose in the second round, do they blow it up completely and trade Joel Embiid? Yes or no?
Not blow it up completely. Like, I wouldn't trade Embiid unless he asked out. But I could definitely see him asking out. I think if we lose in the second round, like, a lot of people are saying the Harden rumors are false, but I think there's some substance to them. I just think Harden wants to get paid. And I don't know if Philly would pay him if we did lose in the second round. So if Harden walks, Embiid might get pissed off. He might ask out. But there's no way if we lose in the second round, I'm maxing James Harden at 34 years old. There's just no way I'm maxing James Harden. I don't care how he plays. If we lose in the second round, I'm not maxing him. No way. I think you can go a different direction, because Tobias Harris is definitely going to be traded for sure.
This is the last year of his contract, right?
No, next year is, but he's way more tradable when he's on an expiring deal. And I feel like he's played pretty decent in terms of the Tobias Harris standard, probably better than I expected, way better, honestly. But I don't know. I would probably fire Doc, and if Embiid requests out, then just rebuild. But the things you can get back for Embiid, like, you saw the KD trade, like, the Suns' future is screwed. The Suns' future is screwed. They better win in the next 3 years, because they gave up all their picks, and now you got Mikal Bridges and a bunch of young talent and things like that.
Kevin Durant's 33, right?
Yeah.
and the Achilles in Golden State, and then a sprained meniscus last year, sprained meniscus this year. He was the only one last year that was in the playoffs, I think, and almost led that team with the toe on the line. I think it was at the year before. COVID makes me just not even remember what happened in what playoffs. But either way, Kevin Durant, when he's healthy, obviously you go all in with Kevin Durant. But with a guy that's 7 feet tall, 6'11", whatever, who plays like a guard, you start getting meniscus sprains and knee things and stuff. It does get scary when he's 33, 34 years old because, yeah, you're risking your entire future for a guy that, like, let's be serious, is Durant going to be at a superstar level at LeBron's age? Not many players are at a superstar level at 38. So you're basically saying we want to win in the next 3 years. And if we don't, we're asked out because we gave up all of our picks and all of our young players. So I agree with that. I think, I guess you're never going to voluntarily trade Embiid. I think because if it was somebody that was just basketball smart and there was no money involved in the decision. Oh, that was loud in my ear. I don't know what that was. Minecraft for Windows? What does that mean? Dude, something just blasted in my headphones. I don't know did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
All right, something just anyway. I don't even play Minecraft. I don't know. Now where was I? Yeah. If it was just somebody that really knows basketball and wants what's best for a basketball team, there was no money involved. I think you would trade Embiid if they lose in the second round this season because you can get a boatload for him, but you're going to get more of a boatload for him at 29 than 31. And especially 7 feet tall, 275 pounds. People start to get weary about a guy that size. Could it be the next like DeMarcus Cousins, who one major injury and he's cooked? So I think you would do that. But I think as a basketball team owner and a GM, you're never going to do that because especially the owner's never going to do that because Joel Embiid has made him a fortune and he's literally just going to hold on to Joel Embiid and continue to make as much of a fortune as he can out of Joel Embiid until it's time to go. That's not a basketball decision whatsoever. That's just a business decision. So, yeah, I don't think a basketball team business-wise would ever trade Joel Embiid. Whatever he wants. If it doesn't work this year and he's mad about it, you say, all right, Joel, we got rid of Doc. We got whatever you want to do. We'll start going LeBron James on you, bro. You want a whole new team at the trade deadline? We got you. Whatever you want. We'll fire the coach for you. You turn him into basically halfway the player / GM because he's done 9 years for the organization at that point, and it's time to give him, everything to try to make him want to stay there. And if he would request a trade, that's where you would go. But I think as a basketball team and an owner, as a business decision, you would never trade Joel Embiid. If he requests a trade, that's different. And I could also see it happening if they lose in the second round again. I could see Joel saying like, this ain't, I played 5 years with Ben Simmons. And he's such a humble dude, and he's tried to play with Ben. He never even like spoke out about it. He never even. Kyrie Irving yelled at the guy 2 weeks in. Joel went 5 years
until the Hawks debacle.
He went 5 years and never once yelled, shoot the fucking ball on the court. And Kyrie Irving in 2 weeks, I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. He screamed it on like ESPN, shoot the fucking ball. You would owe it to Joel Embiid. And I wouldn't be surprised if he would say, look, I'm 29. I'm going to go to Miami or I'm going to go to LA or I'm going to do whatever else. And I don't know if he would do that. He's not like a kind of spotlight, kind of celebrity kind of guy, but you never know. The James Harden thing, do you max him? Like, is it who would anybody max him at 33 years old? Is that a thing?
Rockets. The Rockets want him badly for some odd reason.
Well, then you're right. Then that is where that comes from. So people that are like, he's not going to the Rockets because they suck and he's not going to win anything. But if that's the only franchise that's offering him a 5-year max contract, is that what it would be? 5 years?
It's something crazy.
I think a supermax is 5. Maybe it's 4. I don't know. Either way, if the Rockets are if James Harden's like, listen, I'm 33. I did everything I could possibly do in this league. Yeah, I didn't win a ring, but the Rockets are offering me $230 million to end my career. I mean, who's not? I mean, yeah, he probably would do that. He probably would. So you might be right about that.
Would you max Harden if it kept Embiid happy?
I can't do 5 years on James Harden at 33 years old. I can't do that. I can't do that.
I can't.
James Harden hasn't shown you. Again, I compare anytime you talk about a player being 38, I go to LeBron James. James Harden has not shown you throughout his career that he's dedicated enough to his level of physical just fitness to give him 5 years. He hasn't shown that. And people hate when I say things like that, but look what he did to get out of Houston. The guy legitimately gained 25 pounds in the offseason and showed up fat, bro. Who does that? He showed up overweight to get traded. He was like, fine, I'll come, but I was eating chicken wings all summer. I didn't do a damn thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, you can't give a guy 5 years and you don't know how he's going to feel in 2 years. And then he shows up 25 pounds overweight because he hates the organization and wants to leave or whatever. I don't know. I can't do that. I can't do 5 years.
The only way I would max him is if, of course, we win the title. Now, if we win the title, he can get whatever he wants. I'm cool. We're good.
I think he's shown this season, this offseason, that he was definitely dedicated this offseason. He came in great shape. The first time in a couple years he's been in that shape because of the hamstring and stuff. He put in a lot of work this offseason. It's just hard for me to take one season and erase kind of the other things that I've seen throughout his career that where he showed that he wasn't necessarily dedicated to the team. But yeah, if you win or you get close and he's gonna keep up that level of off-season work and stuff and dedication, but I don't know, man. I don't think I can do 5 years. I don't think so. If the Rockets are offering 5, I can't do 5. I can't match it.
Kay in the comments had a great point. She or he is bringing up Chris Paul, and Chris Paul's like, in my opinion, Chris Paul is going to be a liability for the Suns past the second round. So, like, I feel like that's what it would look like if the Sixers were to max James Harden 3 years down the road. It would definitely handicap us for sure. Now, let me ask you this. What if the Sixers go to the finals, take the team to 6 or 7, highly competitive series, and Harden, he played well throughout the playoffs. I mean, if I'm in his shoes, I'm looking at the Sixers and I'm like, I got you to the title. I bought into my role. You better give me my money. And you're my guy, Morey. Like, do you max him then? You got to the finals competitive series?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. I think maxing a guy, you're not really looking at the last 2 years. If you feel like he can win a championship in the next couple, then if you have to buy him out the last year of his contract, that if you're in the tank, then if 5 years from now you traded Embiid and all this stuff and you got to buy out Harden at $45 million, whatever it would be, it would be something crazy. But yeah, you would do that, and then that would also show you or make you think that he's ready to come back the next year, in the next 2 or 3 years, and try again. I think going that far tells you also that that player knows that he can get there again. So then, you would feel like that he's more motivated to try again next year and the year after that. So I guess you would have to. It's at the end of the day, you're trying to win, and there's bullets you got to bite as GMs and things like that, and you got to pay players, man. And that's all about. It's all about the man, Josh Harris, man. He's not a basketball fan at all. He's a businessman. He just buys professional sports teams to make a profit. So it's hard to tell if they would do that. But I would do that if they got to the finals and went 5 or 6. And Harden, I think also Harden's game is going to age well if he stays in shape. You know what I mean? Like, he had the athleticism for a lot of years in his 20s in Houston and stuff. His athleticism slowed down, but he's such a smart player. He can play that old man game and be a facilitator. He's one of the best facilitators I've ever seen. He just reads the floor like a magician. He's so smart with the ball. His game will age well. If he stays in shape, James Harden will be playing in the NBA when he's 40. I really think that. He doesn't have to be able to jump really. If he can pass the ball and shoot, he can play as long as he wants to in the NBA probably. That's what I think.
You can read Bill's super chat. It's been on the screen for like 40 minutes. I feel bad.
We had a lot to talk about. What's up, Bill? Yeah. Thanks for the super chat an hour ago. Sorry, I just got to it. Did you guys watch Daryl Morey's podcast today? Thoughts on him not saying Montrez as a backup center? See, I didn't see that part. The only part I saw was that 30-second clip that RB posted. I didn't watch the whole thing
You
yet.
don't watch it? It's
No,
pretty
I didn't
good.
watch it yet. That gives me something to talk about tomorrow morning. So thank you for that. I'll go get that out of there. What did he say? He didn't. So he was listing off backup centers, and he didn't say Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah, he said he believes in PJ Tucker, Paul Reed, and Dwayne Dedman as the they as a group, they believe in those three players to get them through the playoffs. And he did not say Montrezl.
He had a quote before the trade deadline too that was something like, we know what our main issue is, and he kind of alluded to it also. Daryl's not an idiot, and Doc Rivers just falls in love with certain players and just lets them rot out there with a -40 and just keeps it going. He did it with the Clippers against the Nuggets in the playoffs. He doesn't like to look at analytics at all. And so I think Daryl was probably sitting back like, dude, this guy's getting smoked at the rim. Like, are we going to do something different? Like, such a weird dynamic. They weren't hired together. I don't even know if they like each other,
Yeah.
Like,
didn't they work? They worked with each other in the past, though.
In Houston, yeah. Wait,
so
was it in Houston? No, it was in Orlando.
I remember hearing something, but yeah,
it was
Orlando.
never in Houston. Yeah, it was Orlando.
I have no clue, but it definitely happened. But the thing is, I feel like Morey did a great job at the deadline getting Jalen McDaniels. I felt like that was probably a bigger need than the backup center because you already see how Jalen McDaniels' length and size is, benefiting the second unit, just having an extra rim protector. Yep. Honestly, I think Montrezl Harrell would look better. Like, he would still be trash, don't get me wrong, but he would look better having Jalen McDaniels out there for some extra rim protection because you're putting Montrezl Harrell out there with George Niang, sometimes PJ Tucker, Shake Milton, who's an awful defender. That's the one gripe I have with Daryl Morey. I think he should have traded Shake Milton because I don't think we're going to need him deep into the playoffs.
I was telling people for a couple of years, though, that Shake Milton doesn't have any value in the NBA. He's a fringe G League player. I always really thought he was. I like the guy, but he's a fringe G League player. You can find a pick and roll ball handler that can't really, he's not going to beat anybody in an ISO. He's not going to do anything that wows you. He's not a backup point guard like a Alvarado, or somebody that has a little bit of flash or something. He's just kind of there when you don't have any other backup point guards. That's really how I feel about Shake Milton. That sucks for the fans that think he's, sniper shake or whatever, but I just think shout out to him for making an NBA career, but I just don't think he's anything special, and I don't think anybody's going to give up anything for him in a trade.
Yeah, I like Shake. And he's played very well in his role this year, but when you get into the playoffs and you have Milton, Maxey, and Harden, you're not going to need guard depth. And the thing now, getting Jalen McDaniels is there's not many holes on the roster. You can make an argument backup five for sure, but I think Dedman and Paul Reed, mostly Paul Reed, could be fine. But Jalen McDaniels gives you a guy who you could put out next to Joel Embiid, next to Tyrese Maxey and James Harden. The big thing was Tyrese Maxey and James Harden, bad defense. But now you got more length out there with Jalen McDaniels running around. You got Joel Embiid protecting the rim. Like, a lineup of Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Jalen McDaniels, PJ Tucker, and Joel Embiid is way better than a lineup with Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, George Niang, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. Like, putting Jalen McDaniels in the lineup, replacing him with a George Niang or a Tobias Harris, they're all slow and undersized. Like, that makes the lineup so much better, and it gives you versatility where you can put Harden and Maxey out there, but you're still going to have a good defensive unit if everyone's locked in and they're communicating and rotating properly. So that's why I was such a huge fan of the McDaniels trade. And I made a video before anything, and I was like, the Sixers need to go get this guy, and they got him. And I was hype.
Yeah, McDaniels has that instinct, that basketball instinct where the ball comes off the rim and without telling himself he has to go get it or without reminding himself he has to give effort, he just naturally like, I'm going to get the ball before anybody else gets it. That's just a thing. And a lot of players on this roster, Tobias Harris, when he reminds himself, I got to box out and go, he can have 10, 11, 12 rebounds. There's games where he has 3 rebounds in 40 minutes and he's 6'8", and it's like he was just out there not boxing out. Joel Embiid doesn't box out a lot of times. He just stands there. He thinks Joel Embiid a lot of times just thinks that I'm so big that I'm just going to get the ball when it comes off the rim there, and he gets beat against the Knicks and other teams that have Jericho Sims or whoever else who's trying to get trying to crash boards. Jalen McDaniels has that instinct to just go crash. He automatically boxes out. He like magnets to a man, boxes him out, and tries to grab the board. He'll dive out of bounds for a loose ball. He's like Paul Reed to me with more of a basketball IQ, like just a naturally athletic, long guy that's going to run the length of the court, block a shot, run back to the other end, dive on the floor, get an offensive rebound, he's another Paul Reed to me, but he just has much more of an offensive game and a basketball just IQ, and not so much chaos as Paul Reed. Paul Reed's just any second now he's going to slap somebody in the back of the head and Doc's going to bench him for the rest of the season. Like, he's just kind of crazy. I love Paul Reed, but yeah, I think Jalen McDaniels is a more under control style of that style of player. And yeah, we lack that, dude. We haven't had that forever. So he's a perfect player. And he's just a fit. You can just throw him in anywhere. He doesn't need the ball in his hands. He'll roll, he'll cut, he'll set a screen, he'll catch and shoot. He might not be a 40% 3-point shooter, but yeah, he fits all over the place. And I want to see Doc be more experimentative. Experimentative, is that a word? With him, put him kind of in all kinds of different lineups, man. I love the McDaniels trade for sure.
Yeah, I'll do you better than Paul Reed comparison. He's a 6'10" DeAnthony Melton, in my opinion, because his offense it can be suspect at times with his shot, depending if he's hitting, and he likes to get a little crazy sometimes dribbling, but it's better than Matisse Thybulle, I'll tell you that. He can actually, like when Matisse Thybulle took two dribbles, I was closing my eyes, but Jalen McDaniels, he can get a board and potentially you can get something in transition. And also, he's a lob threat. Probably the only lob threat on the team for James Harden. You already seen Tyrese Maxey throw a bunch of lobs to him. The thing that I was a little sad about, probably because he just got here, is he didn't really play with James Harden that much. And I feel like James Harden's going to get him easier offensive looks. So I want to see him with James Harden because James Harden's going to thrive with a floor spacer who can get off the ground and slam it home. And also he's clearly the Tobias Harris replacer, in my opinion.
McDaniels. Yeah. I mean, he shot better in his career too than he shot in Minnesota. It was Minnesota, right? Charlotte.
His brother's on Minnesota.
Yeah.
His brother's way better.
He's shot better. But yeah, if he could be, 37, 38% 3-point shooter, he's kind of exactly what you need. Yeah, like just a stretch 4, I guess, who can kind of do all kinds of different things. Yeah. I'm down with that. Tobias Harris replacer at a much cheaper than $39 million a year.
And the thing is, like, everyone's going crazy about him and Paul Reed looking really good defensively because they can actually move around and close out fast and stuff like that. But I mean, if he's lethal with Paul Reed, imagine what he's going to look like next to Joel Embiid, who's a way better defender because he's smarter and things like that.
Yeah. I
start him, but they're not going to start him.
No, they're not going to start him. Well, the issue there is that you gave Doc Rivers a 37-year-old athlete who can still play, but the fact that he's 37 and has been through tough playoff series and all this stuff that PJ Tucker has done, and I love PJ Tucker, but Doc's we already know he's going to 100% favor PJ Tucker as a role man, as a role player over anybody else, and we're going to have to live with that. But yeah. I love the McDaniels trade, man, for sure. What else we got to talk about? Maxey's weird season?
I got something on Tucker. I think
go ahead.
Morey said in the Rights to Ricky Sanchez how Doc tells him he's like the biggest communicator defensively. And I think he's he's going to be so key versus Boston and Milwaukee, because what they're going to do, defensively, because they're going to put him on Giannis and they're going to put him on Tatum, and that's going to allow Joel Embiid to roam around the rim. I mean, you saw that in the first matchup. Joel Embiid, he cared less about closing out on Blake Griffin, which I'm fine with, because it was messing with Jason Tatum, and Blake Griffin had a great game. Obviously, we didn't adjust. Probably should have adjusted, but
we thought he was going to miss. We thought he was going to miss.
If Blake Griffin's going to be knocking down 8 threes, I mean, cool. But I think PJ Tucker, just because he can stay out of foul trouble against those guys, like if you put McDaniels on Giannis or Jason Tatum, 2 fouls probably in like 5 minutes. So that's the good thing about PJ Tucker, is he doesn't foul, and sometimes he gets burnt. But like Morey said in the Rights to Ricky Sanchez, like every good defender gets burnt, especially with the rules now where you can't really touch them. You can't hand check them on the perimeter. But I think PJ Tucker defensively is very important, probably way more important than we all think, because he's communicating and just having a guy who's going to guard the opposing team's best player every night, where Tobias Harris doesn't have to worry about that, because last year he was guarding Jimmy Butler, he's guarding Siakam. Like, that takes a load off you during the regular season. It's nice to have like a guy who, that's your job. Take the best player. If you're terrible at it, it is what it is. At least we don't got Tobias Harris, guarding the best player. And it also allows Embiid to protect the rim as well.
Yeah, I love what PJ Tucker does, man. Especially in like just bigger matchups, it seems like he gets up for bigger games too. What he did against Jokic in the fourth was he was just bullying Nikola Jokic in the entire second half of that game. And it's almost like him being 6'5", you feel like he's physically the underdog. So it makes me want to root for him even more on the defensive side. The Philly crowd gets into it. There's no other sports city that loves defense more than Philadelphia. Like, we love that nitty gritty type of stuff. You see Joel go out there and guard someone on the perimeter, and like he goes out there to guard Steph Curry 1-on-1, and the crowd's going crazier than they go for like a fourth quarter buzzer beater. Like, we love that like underdog nitty gritty shit. That's like, watch this hard work type of stuff. So I knew Philly was going to love PJ Tucker from the jump. We can't really assess him too much in the regular season, but definitely in the biggest game so far, guarding Giannis, guarding Jokic, he gives those players hell, man. And he's such a smart defender. He doesn't foul too much. You're right. He really he knows where to put his body, and he moves really, really good for 37 years old still. So yeah, I'm all for PJ Tucker. And the signing is what it is. It's too much money, whatever. But you got him because you needed that guy. And the only thing so far is that he passing up open shots and stuff like that. I just think he's trying to adjust to a new team, I guess. I'm trying to make excuses here for him. I get so pissed off when he just passes up open shots in the corner. And it's like, that's the only thing you're supposed to do is play defense, dive on loose balls, and shoot corner threes. 2 years ago, he was the best corner three-point shooter in the league at 46.5%. Just shoot the damn ball. We don't care if you go, and I feel like it's funny because this comment mentions Ben Simmons. Like, go 2 for 5. Nobody gives a shit. Shoot the damn ball. You know what I mean? But I think as we get closer to the playoffs and he gets more comfortable playing with the guys he's playing with, maybe he'll start letting them fly a little bit more. I feel like I've seen him shooting more lately than he was in the beginning of the season. And yeah, if PJ can just play hard defense and shoot corner threes, man, that's it, bro. Just do that.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it this way. I really haven't gone after a game where we lost and I'm like, yeah, we lost because of PJ Tucker's offense. Like, I've never said that. I haven't really gotten mad at PJ Tucker this year. Like, there's a few times where he passed up a corner three. That does irritate me. But he's always in the right spot. He's our best screener besides Embiid. And when he gets the rock and he doesn't shoot, he gets rid of it quickly. He catches, go into a dribble handoff. Yeah. He's always in the right spot. And that's huge.
Well, whenever we're in a position where PJ Tucker's driving baseline and shooting a floater, I'm like, oh fuck, kill me, dude. Like,
bro, you used to have that.
But that's
have
not
that floater.
But that's also not his fault either. It's
Yeah,
usually like the shot clock's running down, the play's broken, and he's just trying to create something. But that gets me back to like Danny Green vibes, where it's like, oh damn, this guy has the ball in his hands with 1 second on the shot clock on the baseline. What's going to happen? So yeah, it's not his fault, but yeah, he did used to have that.
They're not going to guard him. Like, they're not, plain and simple, they're not going to guard him in the playoffs.
If he can hit that floater, then shoot it. But it's been bad so far.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, think about it. We had Danny Green, who's a 40% three-point shooter, and what did teams do? They helped off of him.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't guard him either. They were packing the paint on Embiid. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing as Danny Green, but PJ Tucker, I would say, he's a better defender than Danny Green. Danny Green's a great defender, but
I don't think he is anymore. But he used to be
that. But like, that's the thing. Your stars are going to have to overcome offensive liabilities. Obviously, you're not going to want to have a Matisse Thybulle, and PJ Tucker does get a little crazy at times. Like, teams really don't guard him. Mm-hmm. But if Joel Embiid and James Harden are really what we think they are, they should be able to overcome that. Especially considering Tucker does provide something where he's guarding the best player and at least making it hard on them.
Yeah, I totally agree. So let's do this before we get out of here. Other teams you're afraid of besides the Bucks and the Celtics? I got one. I got one that I'm afraid of. I have one that I'm afraid of that other people are probably not going to say.
I think I'm thinking of the same team.
All right, you go first.
Knicks.
Yeah. I was going to say the Knicks, man. I was going to say the Knicks just because of some of those young athletic rebounders that when we played the Knicks back-to-back just last week, we played them not back-to-back, but like 2 games in a row, I think, right? We played them like a Sunday night and then a Tuesday night or something like that. We lost the first one, and we got out-rebounded by a mile. It was embarrassing by the fourth quarter. Jericho Sims is the dunk contest he was horrendous in, and the dunk where he pulled out the 50 card was just, I don't know what the hell he was thinking. I don't know why it took him so long to open the thing. Like, the whole thing went bad. But in actual NBA games, Jericho Sims is just a freak of nature on the boards. And a team like the Sixers, who not only lack athleticism a lot under the rim, but they just play lazy under the rim. They don't box out, and that dude's just going to get every board that comes his way when you're playing like that. So that's a team that scares me because of their interior players and players like Jericho Sims who can beat us on the boards. And Evan Fournier, the Sixers killer, man. Like, he's just always been the Sixers killer. Whether he was on the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks, it never matters. I forget the guy exists until there's a Sixers game and there's just a bald guy in the fourth quarter off the bench just draining threes. He's got like 37 points off the bench. And I'm like, who the hell is this? Oh, my God, it's Evan Fournier. Why won't this guy get out of my life? But, yeah, it's those two things for me with the Knicks, man. They scare me. That's like a spoiler kind of team. And they're always a spoiler team because nobody ever expects the Knicks to really go far in the playoffs. But yeah, I don't like that matchup with the Knicks. And I think if we finish the 3rd seed, we might get the Knicks at 6. I think that's how it goes, right? 3rd versus 6 or 3rd versus 5th. Either way, there's a chance we get the Knicks in the first round. And I don't like that. We'll beat them in 7. But we'll beat them in 6. We'll beat them in 6.
I don't think I can take a first round 7-game series.
No, I think I meant we'll beat them in a 7-game series. I don't think it'll go 7.
Okay.
But there'll definitely be games in there where we're like, oh my God, there'll be games where we get worked in the fourth quarter on just the hustle and rebounding and things. But I think we'd win probably in 5, I would hope, against the New York Knicks. But that's my team. And the Cavs.
The thing with this team is they can beat anyone besides the Celtics, if the Celtics are healthy. They could beat pretty much anyone, but I can also see them losing to anyone. Like, we lost to the Hawks when we should not have lost to the Hawks. So, like that's the thing. We could lose to anyone, but we could beat anyone. It's a weird team. The Heat would be scary as well because, their defense is very annoying, and Jimmy Butler turns into Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs for some odd reason. He just doesn't care about the regular season. I think Jalen Brunson as well, going back to the Knicks, like he would probably just have a killer series against us, knowing our luck with small guards. The Cavs, I should be afraid of them, but they're a team that has like 2 drop bigs and Jared Allen. They do like the switch, but I think Harden could abuse those mismatches. But I would still be afraid of the Cavs because I don't know how we're going to stop Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland. And Jetty Osman would probably shoot 55% from 3, knowing our luck, just like Kevin Huerter a couple years back. So like
or Sam Howell.
I'm going into this postseason with no hope. You know what I'm saying?
The Cavs for me, that's the main thing with Donovan Mitchell, because when Donovan Mitchell gets hot, like when he's not hot, he's current Russell Westbrook, where he's going to shoot you out of games. But when he's hot, man, you got to do something. And the Sixers do not adjust, and they play drop coverage on the pick and roll. And then it's what it was with kind of Zach LaVine dropping 44 on us, or CJ McCollum dropping 41 on us. I think I got those reversed, but it's just, they just call a ball screen and they're wide open. And when Donovan Mitchell's hot and he's just coming around a screen, it's over. This guy didn't score 71 points in an NBA game for nothing. He can get hot and he can destroy you. And we were up by 28 in the first half, and Donovan Mitchell in the third quarter, it's not just that he was hot, it's that we weren't adjusting to try to slow him down. We were just letting him shoot wide open shots. So yeah, the Cavs would be a tough matchup too, but I think we take them in a 7-game series. But I think this team, we might reach the Eastern Conference Finals on like 2 7-game series in a row.
Bro, I'm telling you,
that would be the worst way to go to the ECF.
During the playoffs, my whole day is ruined just anticipating the game. Like I'm like shaking, I'm just feeling butterflies. Like it's like I'm playing in the game, but I'm not even playing in the game. Like it's weird. Like it affects me, and I don't like it. And I'm not looking forward to it.
That's real. Yeah, that's real. That's real sports fandom, man. That's what it does. And you question yourself. You're like driving to the grocery store and you're like, why am I nervous about a sports game later today that I'm not playing in, that has no bearing on my life whatsoever? If sports completely ended, like it would suck, but I would move on with my life. Like it can't be that serious, but it is. But it is. It's what we do.
I have one more interesting topic if you have time.
I got time.
So I pissed some people off on Twitter because like this ain't realistic. Let's just get that out of the way. It's like the Joel Embiid talk earlier in the stream. It's probably not realistic, probably not going to happen. But I saw an article how, the Hawks just fired their coach, and then they were saying if Trae Young wasn't going to change his style, that he would be next. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, if Harden walks, Maxey, Tobias, whatever, for Trae Young. Thoughts?
There's only one thing I really like about Trae Young, and I think he's the best. He's one of the best, maybe the best lob thrower in the NBA. And if he gets to a point where if you're letting him get in the lane, he's either going to hit a floater or throw a lob, and it's automatic. As long as he has a rim running center, there's nothing you can do once he gets in the lane. But I don't think he's a good enough 3-point shooter to shoot the shots that he shoots. I think he thinks he's Steph Curry, and he's not. I don't like Trae Young. I don't want to give up.
I'm gonna be honest. Trae Young is probably one of my one of the guys that I would love next to Joel Embiid. I feel like it would be great because
it depends on the lineup, because you need to hide his defense because he's not guarding anybody.
Yeah, for sure. He's not guarding us. Let's get that straight. But someone then replied to me. I apologize for forgetting the username, but he was saying, how would that be better than what we have now, like a Trae Young and Embiid? Would that be better than Maxey, Harden, Tobias, Embiid? And he was basically saying, like, no, it isn't. And I would argue if you supply them with enough 3-and-D players, maybe you get a Bogdanovich back in that trade. I think a Trae Young and Embiid offense is way better suited in the playoffs, because think about how you stop a James Harden and Embiid pick and roll. You switch. Well, Trae Young, he blows by any player in the league. If you switch,
he goes right around.
Put a taller guard on him. See you later. He's right by you. So that pick and roll, they can have that whenever, because if you switch, it's still there. And the thing is, when he got shut down last year, why was he shut down? The whole defense was orchestrated, just like Embiid against Toronto, just like Embiid against the Heat a couple years ago. They did that. He commands double teams. He commands the whole defense to, try to take him away. And if you have Embiid and Trae Young, I mean, who has Trae Young played with that commands a double team? No one.
I guess you're right that, like, at this point in their careers, Trae Young's more of a threat offensively than James Harden. And it would open up Joel Embiid more, because defenses really have to pay attention to him, because, you can flash around screens right now and it kind of takes James out of what he's trying to do. And if you flash around screens with Trae Young, he goes right around everybody. It just has to be a specifically built team for Trae Young. I think the right team can take advantage of his strengths, but the wrong team can really amplify his weaknesses. And I just think he's a little turd. Like, I want to box him. Like, I want to fist fight him. So,
and
I just don't really like Trae Young too much.
if you think about it, he's one of the players I would trade Maxey. Like, I wouldn't even think twice about it. Be like, please, because Trae Young's 24 years old, still young. So, he's on a contract, so he's young. And if you think about it, he's a hybrid of Tyrese Maxey and James Harden, because he's averaging 10 assists per game, and we saw him light us up.
Yeah, I think you would have to. I think you would have to. I mean, people in Philly, not just people in Philly, fans of any team get attached to players and they just love them. Like, I love Tyrese Maxey. I would like to hang out with him. I want to give him a hug. When I see him smile on the court, he's like, I feel like he's my son. Like, I just like him. I think he's adorable. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean I wouldn't trade Tyrese Maxey for Donovan Mitchell, like I was saying in the offseason. Like, you got to make a basketball decision at some point. Tyrese Maxey's not getting hot, dropping 71 in a basketball game. It's just common. You got to say, I love that guy, but I'm trading for Donovan Mitchell. I said that. People hated it when I said it, but it is what it is. He one day he could maybe be as good as Donovan Mitchell is, or he couldn't. But if you could fast forward and trade him for that, you just kind of have to do it. I thought if we could have done that this offseason, they should have done it. For Trae Young, I think, I wouldn't like it, but I think as a basketball decision, he's much more lethal with the ball in his hands. Obviously, more of a facilitator from the top. You would have to do that. You would have to. But I think other teams probably would have more to offer for Trae Young also.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Once again, this is something that's probably never going to happen. It's just fun to talk about.
It's fun for most people to talk about. There's definitely a section of the internet that can't talk about things. They get legitimately angry. They get
people are going to get angry
that
off. We talked about trading Embiid. Like, are you?
I don't
think you're ready. Dude. I don't think you're ready for those comments. You call yourself a fan,
dude? You have to have, like, the sports talk people that just do hot takes. Like, they know exactly what they're doing. I'm going to say something that's so controversial that's going to get 1,000 retweets on Twitter, and it's going to pit that. You got to be ready for it if you're going to have hot takes, because people want you to die. They want you to die. I'm not kidding. They're like, are you kidding? The guy on FS1 that, like, said top 4 quarterbacks left in the playoffs, and he didn't put Jalen Hurts in there. He put Jalen Hurts after Brock Purdy. Like, he did that on purpose. Nobody knows who that guy is. Nobody watches FS1. They know what they're doing. They want clicks on the internet. The guy, like, people wanted him to die. It's insanity on the internet, dude. It's just a sport. It's just a guy saying things. People are so serious about it. It's wild to me.
It's anarchy. It's anarchy on Twitter.
Complete anarchy. But that's also because this is the generation that we're living in right now, and you can type whatever you want on this little thing right here, and nothing happens to you. But if they saw that guy in person, they would never say that. It's just how it goes. People can.
it just boggles my brain, like all the people on Twitter who are just typing paragraphs about someone else's situation. Like they're so infuriated. And I'm like I scroll past that stuff, and sometimes basketball wise, I'll do that. But other situations, and it's like,
you know what's wild to me
on life to worry about?
No, they don't. That's why they're there typing paragraphs.
That's why they're doing it, because they're doing it to numb themselves from whatever is actually going on.
My thing with Twitter, the funniest thing that I see on Twitter, and this isn't a shot to anyone that doesn't have a lot of followers on Twitter, not that followers matter, but anytime somebody says something to me that I'm like, bro, that doesn't make any sense at all, and I click on their page, and it's like they're following 4,000 people, and they have 7. I'm like, 7 of those 4,000 thought that they would because 3,993 were like, this guy's an idiot.
Yeah.
It usually matches. Anytime someone says something that's totally like the dumbest thing I've ever heard, I click on their page and I'm like, that makes sense. He just says dumb things, that person.
Their anime profile picture as well?
Usually anime or no profile picture at all. Yeah. Or an NBA player, but wearing a hat that's photoshopped, or some weird version of an NBA player for no reason. Just weird. There's one guy that replies to me all the time, I swear to God, and I hope he's in this chat right now. He replies to me all the time. He says stupid shit. He always attacks me and calls me an idiot. I have him muted, but I unmute things because I want to read it anyway. His profile picture is Tupac Shakur, and his profile name is Machiavelli Forever. And he comes at me on sports topics, and I'm like, dude, could you at least make a sports looking page to attack me every day? Why is Tupac yelling at me about the Sixers? Yeah, that's Twitter. That's Twitter.
I like when you quote tweet people and you're like, I've never been wrong before. That's the opposite of what they're looking for. They're looking for you to admit you're right, they're right, or they're looking for a debate. And you just throw back at them. I'm never wrong. I'm right. Shut up. I didn't even read your comment. It's so funny.
I've learned how to deal with it by just kind of playing into it and just saying something that's almost dumber than what they said to me to just end the whole thing. They'll say something. They'll be like, Joel Embiid sucks and he's gonna get injured again, and you're an idiot for ever thinking. And I'll just reply Mars is the new planet that we're living on. Just I don't care about what you're saying, so I'm going to say something that has nothing to do with this topic and move on with my life.
Yeah, because in reality, no one really, they're not going to change their opinion. I don't spend time arguing on Twitter anymore. I used to, but now I just reply with something that I think is funny and I move on with my life, because it's not. I do sometimes, but it's all basketball.
If it's a debate with somebody that I feel like is having a legitimate debate, then yeah, let's do it. But if they're just coming at me trolling, I'm not going to waste my time. Yeah. I hit the mute button all the time. All the time. And if they're really you're so stupid, your life is shit, I just block them right away. Because why am I even going to block? Yeah, it's over. Block. You're done. Simple. All right. But anyway, thanks for coming through, Romp. This was fun, man. We haven't done this in a while. Go Sixers. Whether, however anybody in the chat or in the world of sports feels about the Sixers team, I hope that Doc Rivers continues to do what he's been doing in the last 4 games, which is play Paul Reed, because he's just an athletic backup center. Yeah, he's crazy. Yeah, he's going to do crazy things, but you got to live with it. It's better than playing Montrezl Harrell at backup center, and mix him in with Jalen McDaniels. I think that fixes kind of the major bench issue that we've been having most of the season. And other than that, the offense and the starting lineup and Maxey, whether he's starting or coming off the bench, the team is solid. If he just plays McDaniels and Paul Reed, I think the team is solid. So I think we stand a good chance if the coach does the right thing. That's how I feel. Final thoughts, Romp.
Well, I just realized you titled it "The Sixers Have the Hardest Remaining Schedule," and we didn't even talk about the remaining schedule.
I got to change the title. Yeah, we didn't talk about the schedule at all, man. That's
hilarious. But
that's absolutely true.
Yeah, I think we'll see what they're made of. Like if they shit the bed during this run, like I'll be like, okay, they're who we think they are. But if they really, they have a chance to shut us up. I mean, they play the Celtics twice, beat them twice, beat the Bucks. Like they have a chance to, get the city on their back heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, we got to see something on Saturday. Celtics on Saturday, right?
Yeah, we have the Grizzlies tomorrow.
Yeah, Grizzlies and then Celtics. We got to see something on Saturday because the last Celtics game without 4 starters getting smoked by Sam Howell and Kyle Anderson is annoying. And, you got to show me something. You haven't shown me 2 matchups against the Celtics this season. You got smoked in both of them. One against their starters, one against their bench. If they
I need a blowout.
If they don't look competitive against the Celtics on Saturday, then I don't. I'll still root for them to get to the ECF, but I have no hope that they could beat the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals if they don't show something this Saturday. That's where I'm at with that.
Yeah.
Everybody hit the like button, subscribe. Playback.tv/RunItBackPhilly is where most of my streams are and my watch-alongs. We're doing the Memphis Grizzlies versus 76ers watch-along tomorrow right here in the watch-along studio. That's why there's a TV behind me because I hooked it up to my computer so I can watch along on a TV because I hate watching games on computer monitors. Join me, playback.tv/RunItBackPhilly. Thanks for coming through, Romp. Subscribe to Romp and follow him and all that stuff if you haven't already. Peace.